Today's daf is Nun Dalid. We're going to begin towards the top of the line, top of the Amud Tashma. The Gemara now wants to discuss another l'cha'ira steer between Rameir's rulings with regards to knasim imposed for shegigim midrabanan. Tashma, come and I'll bring you a raya. What it says in the Brisa: Ochel truma tmeya. If a person ate truma tmeya, which is the property of a kohen, so what's the din? He ate truma tmeya, which belongs to the kohen. So mishal chulin tahidin, he has to pay restitution with chulin, which are tahidin. Now shilim chulin tmeya. What if he paid back his chulin tmeya? Ma, what's the din? Amar sumchas v'shum Rameir. He says b'shegig. If it was b'shegig tashlumin, it's a good payment. B'mezid ain't tashlumin, but if it was b'mezid, then his payment is invalid. Chacham say echad zeh echad zeh, tashlum in both cases his tashlum is tashlum. The Chacham imposed a penalty and said he returns and pays restitution a second time with chulin tahidin. Now, Avinam Bo, we asked the question concerning the opinion of Rameir. In the case where you paid restitution with chulin, which are when he paid with Tmein, when it was B'mezid, Tashlumin, why is the Tashlumin not Tashlumin? Tavilav bracha, you should get a bracha for it. Because he partook of something that is not fit for the kohen because it's tummy. And what is he doing? And he's paying back with something fit for him to partake during the days of Tumasei. Rava said Ramalei Kedi, and some people say it's Kedi. This is I have to read it. If he ate truma tameya, Misham called the who, then he pays back with anything, even impure chulin. However, if he ate truma tahira, Misham chulin tahira, he pays chulin tahira. Shimin chulin tameyan. If he paid back chulin tmeim, ma'u sumchas mishum demeir b'sheik tashlum b'mezid and tashlum chamim echazev tashlum misham chulin tehidin. What are we talking about? B'sheik mezid. He came in ayu. Did a mayor serve like konser sheik mezid chum im konser? Rameir says we do not make a knas sheik mezid. Chum say we do. So Rameir does not impose a knas for shegig atumezit. Why? Because midiraisa one can pay restitution to a kohen with anything if he partakes of the truma. This says to that which was said before that in the case of the Rabbanan, Reb Meir poses a penalty even for shegig. So the Gemara says, "Hachi hashta." Could you compare the case? Hasam gavra l'shlumi kamikaven. Anan leikim v'likna say there the guy's a good guy. The man wants to pay. Should we give him a penalty? And specifically with regard to the case where Meir holds that there's no knas imposed, as his mistake was made in the course of performing an action. In cases where one rendered another produce impure and the like, there is a knas, as the mistake was made while performing an action he should have not have been performing. Okay, so now the Gemara tries to bring another proof concerning the previous stated opinion of Meir that a penalty is imposed in a case of a shegigin midrabanan. Tashma, come and I'll bring you a raya. Dom shenit ma'uzrakoi, in a case of blood of a carbon that became tummy and a kohen sprinkled on mizbeach. So b'shegig, if it was done b'shegig hortzu, the carbon is offering and achieves kapara for the owner of the offering. B'mezalei hortzu. So what do we see from here? The Tana of this brisa did not give a knas b'shegig to mezid. And this sprinkling of blood is asur midrabanan. So we see he does not make a knas. So the Rameir says, "Hachi hashta." Can you compare over there? Hasam gavra l'chapuri kamikaven. Ananikim say the person intends to do a mitzvah and be mechaber. Should we arise and penalize him? Here too, a mistake was made while performing a action. In such a case, even Rameir agrees that shegigin does not get a knas. And now the Gemara asks another question. Tashma, I'll bring another further question. Hama'aser b'Shabbos, a person who takes a meiser on Shabbos, which is Asr by Midrabanan, because it appears as though he is being Masakin Kli. So Allah is like this. Bishegi, if it was done unintentionally, Yechel, he can consume the produce. However, B'mezid la Yechel. So, B'mezid, if it's intentionally, he may not consume. So we see from here, the Chacham did not penalize the Shegigin, Adu Mezid, although being Mas on Shabbos is Midrabanan. So the Gemara says, Hasam over there, Garbal Tukunika Mekavan. Over there, the man tends to do a worthy deed and repair the produce by taking Meiser. Anan Leikum B'Hikasi, so we're going to go ahead and penalize him. As above, a mayor would agree that in such a case, Shegigin is not penalized. So now the Gemara says again, Tashma, Hamat Bil Kalim B'Shabbos, person whose table Kalim, in a Mikvan Shabbos, which is Asr Midrabanan. Because again, it appears as being Misakin Kli, so the Allah is like this. Bishegi, if it was done unintentionally, then he could use them. But if he immerses it intentionally, he may not use it. Here too, the Chacham did not penalize as well. Shegin not amazed. So the Gemara says, you compare the cases. There, the man intends to do a praiseworthy act and purify the utensils. Should we arise and penalize him? Again, the same distinction applies as well in this mission as well. Now the Gemara says, "V'rami did a mayor, and they raised a stira between one statement of Rameh and another statement of a mayor with regards to the Rabbanon." Why? The Tanya was talking about Brayso. Noflu v'nispatzu, if there are nuts from that of Arla, and they fell into other nuts and became now Mu'urif. So the halach is that Arla fell in, the entire mixture is Asr, even if the nuts in the Arla are only a few. Why? Because they are deemed significant when they are whole, they're not, there's basically no bottle. Now, however, if the nuts were broken and afterwards, they were broken, if the nuts were broken afterwards, so Echad Sheik V'Echad Mezid, if it was, doesn't matter, Sheik Mezid, Layalu, they are not nullified in this mixture, despite the fact that they're no longer regarding as significant, and one should therefore apply Ba'arev. Baltubarev. Divrei Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Divrei Meir, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yisrael Shimon Eimen, B'Shegi, Galu, B'Mezid, Layalu. If it was B'Shegi, Galu, it's nullified B'Mezid, Layalu, it's not. Now, the Gemara says, but here, the Midiraisa Chad B'Trei Bot. We know Midiraisa Chad B'Trei is Bot. Rabbanon the Gazer, Konas Rabbi Yehuda, and we see that nevertheless, Rabbi Yehuda gives a Knas, Shegigin, Automazin. It seems to be Seisur, what was stated before, that Rabbi Yehuda does not impose a penalty for Shegigin. The Gemara says, Hasamai Tam Rabbi Yehuda, Mishum to Asiru. There, in the case of the reason of Rabbi Yehuda, there's a Knas was imposed in the case where he unintentionally broke the nuts due to the concern that without the Knas he would come to make tricks and intentionally break the nuts in order to affect nullification of the nuts. Now the Gemara says, and they raised the stira between one statement of Rabbi Yossi and another statement of Rabbi Yossi. The Tan we learned in a Mishnah, Netia shall order v'shal kilei akerim shenas arba b'netias achedes. If the sapling that has the status of an arlo or a grapevine sapling that has the status of diverse kinds of vineyard. In other words, one vine in a vineyard had grain planting near it and became usher, and the grain was then uprooted. And what happened? Again, nitiye shalol v'shakil akerim shesar b'netias achedes harzela yilakit. So the law is he may not gather the produce of any of the saplings from liquid. And if he does, yalav echel masayim. If he gathered the produce, the forbidden mixture is nullified. And its ratio in 200 parts by 200. Actually, as long as he does not provide to intend to gather. Now, Rabbi Yossi says, even if he intentionally gathered the produce in order that the forbidden produce would become batal, then yalu b'echel masayim. So 200 does work. There seems to be says Rabbi Yossi said in the Brayso with regard to nuts that if the nuts were broken intentionally, they're not batal. So the Gemara says, wasn't it stated already that there is a chazaka that a person does not render his entire vineyard forbidden for the sake of one netiyah. Therefore, can we assume that one does not intentionally plant a netiyah that has the status of urla or of diverse kinds of vineyards amongst other saplings without properly marking it? If he did so, it is lo yishchiach. Chacham did not impose a penalty, as we said, on something lo yishchiach. The There's a chazak that a person does not render his vineyard forbidden for the sake of one sapling. Therefore, the Chacham did not impose a penalty. So the Mishnah, if a kohenim disqualified a korban with improper kavanas in the base of Mikdash. So the halacha is mizidin if it was done intentionally. Chayav and he is chayav. We learned in Rabbi S if one was preparing tahiris, he was preparing tahiris food with others. And he said to him, the tahiris pure food that I prepared with you, nitmu became tummy. Or if he was preparing karbanos with another person, then he says, the karbanos that I made for you with you, ispalgu are pigul, neman he's believed. But if he says, the food that I prepared with you on such and such day became tummy, the karbanos that I prepared with you on such and such day became tummy, or pigul, he's not believed. So the Gemara asks, what's the difference in the first case that we believe him, and in the Sefer we don't believe him? Rabbi says that you have a principle, as long as it's still in his power to do so, to do what he said he had done, he is the incredible. Therefore, while he's involved in the preparation of the karbanos, so he's still able to disqualify them. He's deemed credible when he says that he already became disqualified. But once he makes a statement about actions he performed in the past, and he's no longer able to disqualify, then he's no longer able to disqualify them, so he's not believed. So if he says, if he was and he says then he's believed. But saying the thing that I already did, that he's not believed. Both in the first case and the latter case deal with testimony about the past. The difference is that in the latter clause is referring to a case where he found him a first time and told him nothing about disqualification. And then afterwards, he found him the second time and he told him. So in such a case, he's lying, because if it was true that the pure food had become tummy, he would have said it the first time. So there was a certain person who said to another person, the Torah's food that I prepared with you on such and such day became tummy. They came in front of Rabbi. He says, Shur Sadin, so what happened was, the owner of the food came before the Rami asking him what to do. Rami said to him, you continue to treat it as teres, as there's a principle that is not deemed credible. Rabasi said before him, my teacher, did you say so? So he says, so said Rabbi in the name of Rabbi. What can I do when I see that the Torah deemed him credible in such a case? So when I ask, where does it deem credible? The Kohen Gadol in Kippur will prove this point. Because when he says that he had improper kavana, he is deemed credible. And from where do we know that had he had proper intent? It says no man shall be in the tent of meeting. Rather, it's not because he is deemed credible, and his testimony even after he performed the service, and it is no longer in his power, to disqualify the korban. So Mar says no. Perhaps we heard that he disqualified the korban with improper intentions. In other words, maybe he stated his kavana out loud while performing the aveda, and it was heard outside. So my answers, Ilav the mehemen afagav the shamin nami the mehemen. Were he not deemed credible about the matter, that even if we heard him voice his intention, he would also not be deemed credible. Why? Why? Because the reason is that perhaps he actually sprinkled the blood with the proper kavanah, and it was only afterwards that he said what he said, and at that time he could no longer disqualify the korban. So rather, he's certainly deemed credible when he says that he disqualified the korban with improper intentions. When I asked, perhaps we saw that perhaps we saw the Kohen Gadol was doing through a small door, through which was possible to monitor his actions, and we saw that he sprinkled the blood with proper intentions. It says kasha is taka kasha. Next story, Ahuda, there was a certain person that came before Rabbi Ami. So he says, the Sefer Torah that I wrote for so and so, I did not write the mentions of Hashem's name with kavanas. That is required, and therefore the Sefer Torah is possible. So he says the Sefer Torah is in whose possession is it? It's in the possession of the buyer. So he said, you are deemed credible to cause the loss of your wage, as you admit that you wrote the Sefer Torah in a faulty manner, and therefore the buyer can refuse to pay it. However, you're not deemed credible to cause a loss to invalidate the Sefer Torah. So Rabbi Yirmiyah said to him, although he lost his wage with regard to the mentions of Hashem's name that he wrote in a faulty manner, did he lose his wage with regard to the entire Sefer Torah which he wrote correctly? Any Sefer Torah in which the mentions of Hashem's name have not been written with the proper intentions, and Yeshav Klam not worth anything. And when I ask for the kachi, let the Sefer pass a kulmis or read with an additional ink over these askaris and sanctify him. So the Gemara asked, come on, name of the like Rabbi Yehuda. Should we say this is not according to Rabbi Yehuda? The Tanan Hoyo Harishah Yitzarach Lichtav Hashem Niskam Lichtav Yehuda V'Tov Lichtav V'Dalas Marvel Kumas Mekacha Rabbi Yehuda V'Chamrim Ein Shem Namuvcher. We know the din is that if a sefer writing a Sefer Torah was at a point in the text that he needed to write the name of Hashem, spelled Yud Kivavke, and intended to write Yehuda, but he made a mistake and he wrote, while writing Yehuda, he did not place the Dalet, thereby unintentionally writing the name of Hashem. Then he should do? He should pass over with a reed pen. He writes over was written and it's Mekadesh. The Chacham say it doesn't. So the fact that Rabbi Ami did not offer this option to rewrite the Askaris name to correct the Sefer indicates that the halacha isn't according to the opinion of the Chacham and not according to Rabbi Yehuda. So it says, I feel Tim Rabbi Yehuda Atkan like Rabbi Yehuda L'Bechada Askara. Why did Rabbi Yehuda say this only in regards to a single mention of Hashem's name? In such a case, it's possible to pass over the name with additional ink. Why the Mechazik when it comes to a Sefer Torah, it looks speckled and therefore it doesn't work. There was a certain person who came in front of Ravo and he said, he says that in regards to Gvilim, I did not ma'abed lishma. Who has a Sefer Torah now? Since you are deemed credible to cause loss to your wage, as you admitted that the parchment upon the Sefer Torah is written is invalid, you are deemed credible to cause a loss to disqualify the Sefer Torah. So then he said to him, in what way is this case different from the case of Rami said that the Sefer Torah is not incredible to disqualify the Sefer Torah? So he says, my answer is there it could be said that the Sefer Torah was long and merely wished to distress the purchaser of the Torah scroll. He claimed that he had written the names of Hashem without the proper intention because he made the mistake of Rabbi Yirmiyah. He thought, as Rabbi Yirmiyah did, that as a result of his admission, he would lose only his wage for writing the Haskares, but he would still receive payment for the rest of the Sefer Torah. But here, since the Sefer knows that by claiming that he did not process the parchment with the proper intention, he causes the loss of his entire wage, and he nevertheless comes and says this, you should say that he is saying the truth. Since he is deemed credible and there is no concern that he wished to distress the purchaser, the Sefer Torah is disqualified.